You are comfortably zoned with the Zigzag Man in Alameda, California, pushing on the doors of life marked pull and fighting the unholy trinity as we go. Big business, organized religion, and government. I am here with Bill Lutz, former Staff Sergeant, United States Air Force, and much more importantly than that, a former Jackson Heights-ite. Lived in Southridge, right across from Northridge on Northern Boulevard in one of the greatest neighborhoods in the whole world. Am I right, Bill Lutz?
Yeah, it was a good place to grow up.
Good place to grow up. I had Maddie and Eric Chapman and Marty and Bernie Rose on last week talking about growing up in the Heights and what their experiences were. And I don't know if you knew Bernie or Marty or those guys.
Nope, I didn't hang out up that way. I hung out down around 37th Avenue and 94th Street.
Ah, okay. And what did you gain most in life from having grown up in the neighborhood that we both grew up in? You were 4 years behind me. We both went into the Air Force to our first experience out of New York. What did you gain from your upbringing that got you through life a little bit, that was a real asset to you? Anything you can put your finger on?
Well, it always seemed a relatively safe environment. You knew people in a neighborhood context almost everywhere you went. And
okay, let's put the years in order now. I grew up. I left in 1965 to join the Air Force. I think you left in 1969 to join the Air Force at pretty much the same ages. I was 19, 20, and I think you were somewhere along those 19. So in the years between 1965 and 1969, can you identify any real changes in the Heights that from the years of it?
I think down around where I was, the park over on 94th Street in Northern, it was getting a lot more racial. The Junction Boulevard was the dividing line between the black community and the white community, although Corona still had a lot of the Italians who were still living over there from when it started out.
Right.
And I think there were more racial issues probably than when you were there.
Hello.
Look, we are joined by another Heightsman. And just from the sound of the voice, I'm guessing that's Wayne Unger.
That is me. How you doing, Ralph? How you doing, Bill?
Hey.
Doing fine, thank you, Wayne. Good to hear from you.
Good. To add into what Bill just said, there was always gang fights, black and white gang fights around the area of 94th Street Park, which really, 149 Park, but it started to change right around, I'd say around 67, 68. It just kind of like fell off. It just disappeared. In my mind, I kind of almost remember like the last summer when the stuff went on. And you know what? It sounds crazy, but I think a lot of people starting to get high, starting to smoke pot. Believe it or not, I think that actually acted as a racial buffering. Like all of a sudden now there was some common ground.
Right.
It's just, I'm just thinking about the times and looking back at the times and, and thinking about what went on. And now all of a sudden, like, hey, come on, let's share, so to speak. So.
Right. That's a very nice way of looking at it. I mean, I'm an herbalist myself, as you know, Wayne, and Bill, I don't think we've chatted about this. It's not the most important thing in the world to a lot of folks how much I get high, but I've been kind of a lifetime wake and baker, and it does tend to mellow you out and put you in a sharing kind of position where you could recognize we all have a common denominator, and that denominator is we just want to be loved and housed and fed and clothed, and, you know, it ain't just pretty much as simple as that. Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, I didn't really have much of an introduction to drugs until I came back from Korea, and that's Tarifa. I was doing pills, ups mostly, 67 through 69 when I went away. But didn't really run into weed until I got back from Korea in September of 71. And then it was weed, and it was acid, and it was coke, and it was everything, because everybody that I was stationed with was back from somewhere in Asia, whether it was Korea or Thailand or Nam or Okinawa or Japan or, you know, whatever hellhole they had you in.
Right.
And what were they going to do with us, man? Send us back, you know? I mean,
if you don't really like the work I'm doing here, I'm certain to go home. Like, yeah, it would be nice to do that. And there was no real testing for drugs in the service back then either.
No.
I sat in. Yeah, and you were the cop.
For security. I went to work every day for 4 years with a gun. And for the last two of them, I'd go to work tripping. We all did. We were tripping or smoking, a combination, just all sorts of different things.
Yeah, well, you know, I must say I've dabbled a little over the years in stuff just to be trying it out more or less. I'm pretty much a one-trick pony. I mean, I smoke a lot of weed, but that's all I smoke.
Oh, that's all I smoke.
But that's not only all I smoke, but that's my only vice. If it's considered a vice, and looking back, I never thought of it in terms of the medicinal value that it has, and tests that were conducted in the 70s when Nixon was president, studies and what have you, were withheld from the public to keep us working and to keep us well motivated, and to keep the alcohol companies and the cigarette companies and the cotton and the timber, keep everybody rich and keep the poor from thinking about themselves and looking into what we're here for, and never considered it anything more than that until those studies were finally released and more studies have been done. It really is good for you. I mean, it fends off a lot of stuff. It fucks with your motivation. I'll give you that. And sometimes it gives you a bit of Tourette's, so you say say the F word. That'll happen, but it doesn't very much anymore in this venue. I've toned that down, the F words. But sometimes they just come shooting out.
It happens.
Anyway, it happens. However, it does mess with your motivation, and it isn't something that changing one's consciousness would not be something that I tell my kid to do. But if he were to change his consciousness, I'd recommend marijuana above, getting, drinking or that and the other thing.
Okay, let me ask you something. I still
then
smoke.
We'll talk a little sports.
But do you get high? I don't
Pardon?
get high. I don't. Do you still? I mean, I still smoke, but I don't get high.
Oh no, I don't. Exactly.
I've been
so
basically
very well
maintaining the same height for 40 years.
Really?
You're a kindred spirit. It just, to me, and my friend and good Goomba years ago said that the reason for smoking is because life is piercing without it, and it puts a certain shield up, that a mental shield that somehow makes it better. It enhances, and let me tell you something too. It enhances whatever you're feeling. If you're not feeling good, it certainly doesn't make you feel good.
Right.
It can enhance that. And it does lead to paranoia. But the truth of the matter is, you shouldn't be paranoid. They are out to get you.
Well, let me say, myself, I haven't smoked since 1991, all right? And that was basically really more of like, I mean, my problems went much deeper than smoking. And, and I did the 12-step recovery thing, and
right.
So it was a little different, but I mean, I can tell you over the years, some people actually do not have good reactions to pot. That's the bottom line.
I would say, and
go on.
No, I would say that's very much true, and that our gender has less of a problem with it than the female gender, for the most part.
You know what? Probably so.
I've found only a few. Yeah, I've found only a few women over the course of my lifetime who smoke it because they really enjoy it and who are into it and see it and don't put anything on it. I think that's just an anecdotal study, of course, and but so I treasure the women in my life who, present women and past women in my life, who have at least indulged and not been judgmental for the, for the very least, and seen some of the relaxation and the introspective mode that one could attain, and don't put anything on it. But Bill, that's very true. I haven't been high in a long time.
But that's one reason I want to get into a place like Colorado, where they're going to have the stores and they're going to have all the different strains and different levels of THC.
Right.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Here we have that in California, but it must be under the guise of medical marijuana.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it is wonderful for those patients who really need it. But the system has been abused by a bunch of folks who either get cards under false pretenses, where they lie to get doctors' recommendations, or they just buy for friends and this, that, and the other thing. I would have preferred to see it decriminalized across the board and not have the government share in more undue profits than necessary. If you just decriminalize it, the price would come down drastically. The government should get what's due them out of a fair price. But to spend upwards of $200 for an ounce of a weed is just, it's not righteous. And it's not righteous that some of the old-time growers who risked jail and other penalties in the past to supply we smokers and redistributors. I spent some time in my life redistributing said plant, and so I consider myself part of that. We shouldn't be penalized, and the government should be making a profit over that. And if they say they need the money to keep things going, they could stop war, and they could tax the churches, and we'd have all the money in the world. We'd feed the world and educate the curious. It'd be wonderful if you just tax all churches, synagogues, mosques. Every organized religion should pay taxes, and we'd have and you stop the imperialistic wars. You become less oil dependent, and hey, man, we're just talking. We solved all the problems of the world. That's what happens when three Heisman get together. Let's talk a little sports. I'm a Met fan. You're a Met fan, and Wayne is a Yankee fan.
Yankees fan, yeah.
Well, I got it. I heard the tone in your voice, Bill. Yankee fan.
But you know what? Believe it or not, my youngest son, my 8-year-old, is a Red Sox fan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's a Red Sox fan.
I never tell my kids who to root for.
Did you say a Red Sox fan?
A Red Sox fan, yes, he is.
Oh, okay. Well, then I just want to make note of the fact that what a great prognosticator you are. Last year, you were the one when everybody around was predicting they'd have a horrible year. You were the one that said, watch the Red Sox this year. You said it on these airways. I don't know if it wasn't in this venue, but it was back in the old SCC free radio days. And so I'll commend you once again, Mr. Prognosticator.
Thank you. I wish I wish my Diamond Mine team would have done as well, but what are you going to do?
We all are. Wayne and I play different fantasy league, different types of fantasy baseball. Are you into that at all, Bill?
No, I've been fantasy football for a long time with a group. But
okay.
Nothing online.
I know I've asked Wayne this before. He's been on. What's your first memory of going to a baseball game?
Mine?
Yeah.
My dad took me to Ebbets Field the year before the Dodgers left.
1956 then, I guess.
Yeah.
And you were a Dodger fan?
Yeah, I was 6, I was anything they wanted me to be.
Yeah, you guys didn't feel much of a loss when the Giants and Dodgers left. You were too young. I was 11. Yeah, I was 11. Boy, that was not fun at all.
Right.
I'd probably say that to somebody or to myself once a day. That was very, very bad. It could have been prevented. I think if Robert Moses had been born in China and never seen America, this would have been a better world for me to grow up in. And ironically, I
was going to say, today, instead of where they wanted to build Ebbets Field in downtown Brooklyn, now we have a mall in the Barclays Center. And,
right.
And let me tell you something. The Barclays Center is the ugliest looking building. I mean, I pass it all the time. My job, I drive all through Brooklyn all day long, and I passed it all the time. And right before they were getting ready to open it, I was like saying, wow, man, how are they going to get those panels? Like, they got to sandblast all those metal panels. They rusted already. And then one day a friend of mine said, no, that's the color they're supposed to be. They made it that ugly brown to try to blend in with the neighborhood. It is the ugliest looking thing. It looks like there's panels all around it. It looks like they're rusted. I thought they were going to have to sandblast them, so.
Right.
And, and we could have had Dodger Stadium there.
could have had, which would have encouraged the Giants to stay. And the Giants were set to leave before. They were on their way to Minneapolis, and you know what stopped that move? Was O'Malley owned the Dodgers AAA minor league team, St. Paul, was right across, and he had territorial rights to Minneapolis, and he put the kibosh on that move, and for what turns out to be the right reasons, because to come out to play, if he just moved to Los Angeles, it would be too expensive for the other teams to fly out with just one trip to make on the West Coast. So,
and do you know how O'Malley got the territorial rights to Los Angeles? Those territorial rights belong to the Chicago Cubs. And,
right, because they had a Wrigley Field out in L.A. where they used to film home run derby.
Yes. And Phil Wrigley had a daughter who, of course, she was an heiress, a rich heiress, was running around with too many Hollywood stars, and he didn't really approve of that. So he swapped territorial rights. I don't know what rights he swapped, what he got back in return from the Dodgers, but he gave them the territorial rights because he wanted the Cubs or their minor league team. He wanted them out of California, and he figured maybe it would help keep his daughter out of California. I don't know where the connection was with that, but that was part of it.
Very, very interesting to me. I had forgotten and didn't even take into consideration that yes, that there were territorial rights out here as well, and Wrigley did indeed have a farm team. They were great AAA ball out here. The Pacific Coast League played like 182 games a year. They'd go into towns. It was all by train, and you play like 7, 8, 10 games in a series. You play double headers 3 times a week, and the level of competition when there were just 8 teams in the league was incredible in the minors. They had literally the Dodgers, 25 minor league teams.
Wow.
Guys coming up. So that's why I contend that the true golden age of baseball was in the mid-50s to early 70s. Because by then, a lot of the blacks who had been kept out, the second reign of blacks, the Frank Robinsons, the Veda Pinsons, those guys came in. Initially, the blacks were experienced players. Satchel Paige, Larry Doby had all played in the Negro Leagues, and they were called the Negro Leagues back then, not the black or African American leagues. And but I also contend that that second wave of black players that came up, including Willie, had it much tougher than, on some levels, than Jackie Robinson, because he was kind of food fed into organized baseball. His first year was Montreal, and that was a very liberal city. They accepted blacks very readily. He didn't have to play in the southern direct of society world, crackerdom, Alabama and all these farm teams that the guys like Kurt Flood and all these guys that came up and became terrific ball players. Within 6 years, they were leading categories in the National League. Aaron and Willie and Frank Robinson and all these guys. It was great baseball. So, excuse my rambling away for the old days. I think I live in the 50s and 60s more than I live here. But so give me a little hot stove league. Do you think the Yankees are going to sign Robinson Cano?
Oh,
Wayne?
You know what? I don't know, but I was talking about this with my older son. I have a 31-year-old son as well, and we were.
Do you really? Wow.
I do. I have a 31-year-old son. My daughter will be 16 in a couple of weeks, and I have an 8-year-old son.
Wow, that's very cool. You get. Tell me about Robinson, and remind me to ask you about how your parenting changed from when you had a 31-year-old son to an 8-year-old son. But
real quick on, we were talking about Cano yesterday, and we're both in agreement, that we're glad that the Yankees are holding the line, and it's kind of outrageous to think, they're holding the line at what is it, 7 years and $170 million or $160 million. But they have to hold the line. And I said, you know what? And even 7 years I think is too much. I told him, I said, you know what? I'd be happier if they gave Jacoby Ellsbury $20 million a year for 5 years, and then signed Omar Infante for 2 or 3 years, and call it a wrap, and say goodbye to Cano. That's just the way I feel.
That could very well work.
But as far as parenting goes, it's different because although I spent a lot of time with my son and et cetera, his mother and I split up when he was 2 years old, but I still spent a lot of time with him. But I was also an active drug user. And and I don't mean just a pot smoker. And now it's a whole lot different because my 2 younger ones that live with me, their mother and I split up. My daughter was 9.5, my son was 1.5 years. So I'm a full-time single parent, and so it's different. It's all different. So I can't really say I can't really say how my parenting style has changed because it was just 2 totally different situations. My son was with me on weekends and sometimes during the week, whereas these kids, they live with me and they're here with me all the time. My son goes with his mother like every other weekend. My daughter, because of her age and, their mother lives in New Jersey and I'm here on Staten Island, she pretty much is content to see her mother coming and going, and once in a while going there. So it's just different.
Yeah.
But I try to be fair. What can I say? I try to be fair, and I try to be, instill discipline, and, it's a fine line we walk.
Right. I'm going to quote my good friend David Hirsch, one of my mentors. One does the best they can, and they live with the results. And that's about all you can do, is the best you can do. It's a little Popeye in there. But I think if you come from a place where you're trying to do well and your heart's in the right place, then not that you're not going to make mistakes, not that things aren't going to get messed up a little bit, but, you're a lot better off if you're not coming from anger and you're not trying to prove something to the world. And But it's life's a bag of mixed nuts. And you just got to hope for a few cashews every now and again. And so, Bill, did you have kids?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Do you regret it?
Who the hell knows? Because I always thought I'd have kids, all right? And I'm married to a woman now, 32 years. She was a school teacher. She didn't want to come home to him. She had him 30 a day. So I said, and I knew this going in. I went in eyes wide open. And I wasn't willing to give up a woman I loved for a kid I didn't know. So there's no point regretting. anything.
Oh, okay.
Decision that was made.
Some people make those decisions on less important things. I had a friend who I asked the same question to, do you have any children? And he said, no, we have white carpeting. So, at least you thought it through a little bit, which in today's day and age. And it doesn't mean that...
You know what else it allowed me to do? It allowed me
that?
to retire a week before my 49th birthday.
Oh, wow.
If I'd have had kids, I could have never have done that.
Right.
Right.
Well,
funny. I was talking with someone today. I work for Coca-Cola, and I was talking to a Pepsi guy today, and we're talking about, union contracts and all that other stuff. And I told him, I need 7 more years. And he thought I meant that I'm going, I'll be out at 60. And but no, I'm going to go to 66, at least with my job now in a perfect world, and probably,
right.
Collect my pension, collect Social Security, and probably work because, I have kids. Well,
you have kids, right?
But that's okay.
Well, I was 42, and I met my son's mother. We were both doing comedy, and she was getting her PhD at Cal, and she was going to be a professor, which she turned out to be. And she wanted kids, but she wanted a career, and she didn't want strangers to raise the kid. And I wanted a child, but I didn't want the responsibility, the financial responsibility, which commerce has never been my long suit. And I was, and neither, my work ethic was torched when I was 28, and my father was 62 and died about 11 minutes into retirement. And I had worked hard accumulating debt for the 7 years since I got out of the Air Force, or 5, 6, 7 years. And I thought, this is crazy. And I had a few bucks to pay off some debts. And I realized I'm not going to work more than 20 hours. And I'm going to keep my cup full because I can't, I just can't fill other people's cups if mine isn't full. And I don't mean with money. So when I met her and we realized that we could solve both of our objectives, I got to be the stay-at-home dad. I sat at the park with a bevy of women every day and watched the kids on the thing, and I got to exchange roles, and I got to become a feminist from the standpoint of seeing how little respect the stay-at-home parent gets from society, including my mother, may she rest in peace, couldn't understand the fun I was having and the enjoyment I got doing the same job she did and hated. She hated it. And I learned a lot from that. But with that comes, he's 23. I've got and will always have incredible empty nest syndrome, where and Wayne, you'll see when that awesome responsibility of being the day-to-day thing. You never stop being dad on some levels. He's just as grumpy now as he ever was to his dad. It's just, but I'm trying to look forward, and I'm trying to, try to put that in perspective. You look back on your life, and you look forward to the next challenge of whatever it's going to be. And there you go. It's so you got 3 different people. Very, very interesting. So Wayne, I asked Bill this. You tell me what you got out of growing up in the Heights. The one thing that you got that you take with you that that you go around the track a little differently because of what you got from growing up in the Heights.
I think I blend well with all different kinds of people very well. Because don't forget, when I was younger, the Heights was mostly white, Irish, Jewish, Italian. But,
right.
In later years, I'm guessing by the time I was in around fifth grade or so, sixth grade, I'm a few years younger than you guys. I'm 59. It started to change. It started to become, it started to diversify. And because of that, and because, of course, I was always an extrovert, I've always played well with others and gotten along well with others. And, it shows on my job now. I mean, I'm a service technician, so, I fix Coca-Cola machines and the Coca-Cola refrigerators you see in the supermarkets and the groceries. So, and I work mostly in Brooklyn, which is an extremely diversified borough, and I'm in and out of all different neighborhoods, all kinds of different stores and places with all kinds of different people, and I get along, and I mix well with everybody. And
all right, now, Bill, you're in South Carolina.
I'm sorry, if I think about it, I guess it's something that goes back to, how I was as a kid. Always had all kinds of different kinds of friends. So go on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I interrupted. I just wanted to note that, Bill, although you grew up in the Heights too, you moved to South Carolina, and you settled there. And so there still has to be a bunch of Yankee go home kind of stuff with certain people.
Well, it's still here. Yeah, it is. And I live real rural now. I live out in the country. It's 25 miles to a Walmart. That's where I live.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, could you go 25 miles in the other direction to avoid Walmart?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's 25 miles in a circle to get to one if you want to.
No, I'm just saying because Walmart really sucks.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. They are pretty much symbolize what's wrong with this country, with the very, very rich compared to the very, very poor, and I think that's done us in because we never knew the expression "working poor" when we grew up. Or a living wage.
That expression. Right, exactly. Yeah, like, of course it's a living wage. You go, why would I work if I weren't going to be...
What is it if it isn't living? If I can't live on it,
Yeah, I know. And today, the working poor, why? If it were me, if I were poor, if I were black, if I were a woman, if I were oppressed, really, I'd be up in arms. I'd have a fucking Uzi with me. I don't know why there isn't a revolution. For a while, the Occupy movement, which I was very big into out here, was going great guns, and that seems to have been dying. And the disappointment of this administration in terms, and I know they hate him, Obama, they hate Obama, but that notwithstanding, he took it upon himself to keep a lot of the same people in his administration as was in the Bush administration and back in the Clinton administration. And Democrats are Republicans, and Republicans are right-wing nutcases, the way I see it now. It's gone so much. Our politicians have really disappointed me. Just my editorial comments.
Well, that means you actually had good. If you're disappointed, that means you had good expectations.
I had for Obama. I can't tell you how my son's mother adopted our foster kid after we split when he was 5. Little black kid. He's 21. Okay, I was in tears when Obama was elected. I was so freaking happy. I can't believe he's been a sellout on so many different issues. The waterboarding, Guantanamo continues, the imperialistic crap, the the drones, some guys being taken off the streets and just no trial, just put away, just droned out with it's tremendously disappointing, and I don't know. I'm a pragmatist. I try to be upbeat, but I'm looking for solutions, because every time a little fire goes out, one comes up. Now with China is bitching about people flying over their territory.
Yeah, well, it's a dispute as to whether it's their territory.
Right. And who could blame it? It's like the Indians. They were a little upset. Fucking A, they were a little upset. And our imperialistic ways lead way to missionaries who do nothing more than my religion is better than yours type of crap. And that just doesn't work. So, sometimes talking about it makes you feel better, I guess, huh? All right. Tell me about one piece of life in the South that would surprise we Northerners if we knew just how great it was down there. On what level, Bill?
One thing that I enjoy, and I don't get it whenever I go back to New York, is if I walk down the street and I speak, people speak back. Don't have to know them. You can look them straight in the eye and say good morning, and they say good morning. And
that's how it is in California. Yeah.
That's what I enjoy the most, probably, about living here, is people go along and get along.
Right. Well, that's very interesting. And, Wayne, let me ask you this. Since those days of Vietnam and all that stuff, what's been the biggest change in New York, if I were to go back there, and I was back about 8 years ago, and I saw the Heights about 8 years ago, and it really had come back. But what's the major difference from the times that we grew up in New York today, New York today, from back then?
Let's see. No peep shows in Times Square.
Okay. No freak shows either, right?
The intense gentrification of neighborhoods, Alphabet City, Lower East Side, Harlem, Bed-Stuy, Williamsburg, Bushwick. It's just the gentrification is like just unbelievable, and of course, and how Times Square. Times Square, and the whole area around there has just been totally transformed. Even Brooklyn, Dumbo, down under the Manhattan Bridge, Brooklyn Bridge area.
Right. Yes.
It's just, it's insane. It's. I would have to say that, the gentrification
Beautiful
of
answer.
the neighborhoods.
Good.
Wayne?
Hey, listen. Pardon me?
When I was working for the phone company in Brooklyn, I worked from Knickerbocker up to Tompkins, and from, Myrtle or Flushing over almost to Fulton, okay? And that area then, you rode two guys in the truck, you and the guy to watch your back, your escort. He never had to carry a tool or anything else. That area was a disaster.
And now
I hear you talking about gentrification there now.
Oh, yeah, and it's changing like you can't imagine.
That's crazy.
Like Knickerbocker, Knickerbocker Avenue in Bushwick, that was like, all the side streets over there. Those were all like open air, heroin and crack markets.
Mm-hmm.
Like practically like flea markets. So, as was parts of Williamsburg, like South 2nd, around Roebeline, around those areas there, Alphabet City. It was just, It was just insane. And now, I couldn't afford to live there.
Okay, I got one final question for you guys, and this is probably the most important one. Sam's or Frank's, which was the better pizza?
Oh, Frank's.
We have a winner.
I'm gonna qualify my answer because because I worked at Sam's for many years and I was there since he opened. It all depends. The thing is with Frank's, the pizza was consistent. At Sam's, Sam didn't tell somebody, I want you to make the pizza like this, or I want you to make the pizza like that. Depending on who made the pizza, you got a different kind of pie. And actually, Sam himself probably made my favorite slice. And I can tell you this because I worked there on and off for many years. And so it all depended on who made the pizza. But for overall consistency, I guess I will have to go with Frank's.
All right.
All right. Now, do either of you guys remember a guy named Marty who worked at Frank's, a little fat guy?
Of course. Yes, we remember Marty.
Okay. I just wondered if I was the only one. The guy made an impression on me. I don't know how. It was the first time. I'll tell you how it made an impression on me. It made to see how other kids in our group reacted towards Marty made an impression. He didn't bring the best out in human nature with people.
Well, you know what it was. And obviously it also had to do with the way people, viewed other people. Marty was gay, and I guess, and people that knew that, they treated him as other gay people were treated during that time. Yeah,
I know, and right then I said, "What the fuck is wrong with you guys?" There were a few people I have vivid memories 50 years later of how they treated Marty, and wasn't good. Wasn't good.
I always, I never even knew his name was Marty. I used to think he was the owner because every time he was always there, and I actually never knew he was gay until I went to Newtown, and noticed people making fun of him, and I'm like, I didn't understand, and when somebody told me, I was like, are you sure? Because I just didn't think, he never bothered me, give me a slice. And
Bill, did you go to Newtown as well?
No, I went to Monte Cristi over in Astoria.
Oh, okay.
With Marty, with my crowd, everybody thought he was goofy, but I don't think anybody ever thought about him being gay.
Oh, really?
There were different rumors as to what he may have done with the dough and things like that, but nobody.
Well, no, I didn't. That brings a whole new thing into it. I'll have to go for Sam's as the best pizza. Never mind. Never mind the question. Sam's wins. It's funny how that could just change my mind. I'll never think of anything. What he used to do.
Let me tell you something. I once or twice, I sprinkled some of my own personal oregano on pies at Sam's.
That's very good.
Frozen pizzas.
Can't make more happy customers than that. That's for damn sure. Hey, you guys have been terrific. I hope we can do this again really soon. And I'm going to close by saying to all of those who are listening, keep your dreams wet, keep your humor dry, keep your kids away from recruiting stations and recruiting sergeants, armed forces kind, and just to be on the safe side. This has been in the paper a lot. Keep your kids off the laps of clerics that wear dresses. And for the most part, things will be better. Thanks, guys. Terrific. I hope you had fun.
Yep.
Had a good time.
All right. We'll do it again real soon. Both of you individually. These mics are always open. I love talking to you.
Okay, Zig. Later.
All right. I'm going to sign off.